Hello everyone, this is Karen Skio. I work for the Office of Child Abuse Prevention, and I'm recording this webinar in order to assist you in following the steps to complete the annual report through the ETO portal. The URL is up at the top of my screen. It is secure.etosoftware.com, and you can log in with your username, which is typically your email address, and then your password. So hopefully everybody has their ETO username and password and can log in. If you have any troubles or anything throughout this presentation, I'll be sharing my email at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out and I can help you. So right now I'm at the login screen. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the login button. I've saved my credentials. And a few things have changed this year with regards to the report. None of the questions or anything like that. I did update what's called the My Dashboard page. And if you're looking at my screen, that's what this page is right here. It's the first place that you'll land when you come into ETO. So right up here in the top left, you'll see my recent counties, and I have Fake County, which I'll be using for demonstration purposes, and then I have a county Sacramento here. All this is kind of like a quick link to the counties, so it changes depending on what county you search for. If you don't have anything in this area, it's because that you have not entered data for your county or you haven't searched for anything, so this list will populate once you've gone into a particular county. If you don't see anything here, that's quite all right. We actually get to our county dashboard by clicking up here at the very top left under the quick search bar, type in our county name, and that will take us to the area in which we need to actually start entering data for the annual report. Before I leave this page, this is all just informational purposes really only. You don't enter any annual data here. You'll notice I have this box here. It says custom page. This is kind of a work in progress. I'm working on creating some custom URLs that'll link to resources like the ETO reference guide, a check sheet for the annual report. So for right now, this is just kind of a placeholder until I can add that information. Now down at the bottom, I've done something a little bit new that you might have seen. In this screen, you can see this is a report actually. And I thought this report might be really handy for county users to kind of show after they've reported for a fiscal year, kind of a summary of what they've done. Now this example here is Alameda County, and you'll notice that I have these scroll bars that I can scroll up and down through the window here and see more data. So in this particular example, this is Alameda County. It shows what funds they received. If I scroll down here, it shows what services they provided, how the funds were used for each service, and how many individuals or families that were served. So scrolling down a little bit further, you can see the birth certificate fees that they recorded, and then last on this little report here is total expenditures and what percentage of the allocations were spent, if there's an unspent balance, etc. So there's nothing for you to do with this. This is just a report based on the information that you fill in. This will kind of give you an overall glance at a particular state fiscal year. Now you'll notice this report says Alameda County. Well, let's say I don't care really what Alameda County does. I want to see what my county is doing. So you can update this, and you can also update the state fiscal year in which you look. So obviously for this reporting year, when you're all done, you'll run the 2016-17 report, and it will give you the data that you put in. So it's a really nice check and balances so that you can see what you've got going on. Now to update this report, what you can do is over in the left hand side, you'll see here fiscal year 2015-16. Now if I did want to change that, of course I could. I'm just going to leave it at this for now. And right now it says enter county name. Well, Alameda, because that's the last one I looked at. But if I click here, show list of values, you'll see that we get a list of all the counties, and I'm just going to, I don't know, pick a random county. I'll do Los Angeles, give that a double click. And then what I want to do is hit this little run button here. So if I hit run, you'll see that a little query window is running, and what's happening is that's pulling the data for Los Angeles County for the year 2015-16. So now you'll see that this report gives you a summary of what Los Angeles County did. And again, you can scroll down and see what they did for services, what they received in birth certificate and different funding and so on. And if you wanted to see kind of a full view report and even save this as an Excel file or a PDF or something like that, or print it out, if you click this little view report button here, it'll launch your browser window. And now you can see this is a full-fledged report. You can go and hit the little print button here at the top left. If you click on this little drop-down button here next to document, you'll see you can save to my computer as an Excel file, a PDF, etc. All kinds of different options here for you to save. And you can also run oh, I'm sorry, this didn't update. I thought it would. I apologize. It says Alameda County. So again, if I go show list of values here and I change it to Los Angeles, hit the run button, it should automatically switch the data, and now you can see the data for Los Angeles. You can see down in the lower right corner, this is actually 2 pages. It says page 1 of 2. And if you wanted to take a look at the second page, up here at the top in this sort of menu bar area, you'll see this little number 1 with a plus sign and these little, kind of like a play button. But if you click on the next button, okay, not very much information here, kind of a blank page. That tends to happen if, you know, something runs over a little bit, but in this case, nothing to worry about. So again, you can print, save as, and a lot of other options to run for different counties and different years. Okay, so it does open up in another window. You're still not logged out of ETO, and if you're done looking at the report, you can just simply close the browser window. You can say leave this page, and that'll bring you back to ETO portal where you're back on the My Dashboard page. Okay, so that's what's new with regards to the interface on the My Dashboard. But what we're really going to focus on today is what to do for entering data for your annual report. So every county has their own county dashboard, and I'm going to go ahead and use I'll just use Alameda as my example today. So in the quick search bar, if I want to get to that particular county, I'm going to type in Alameda. And it'll ask me, okay, do you want to save or, I'm sorry, leave or stay on this page? I'm going to leave this page. It's going to take me to this window here that shows me the county name of Alameda. So I'm going to click this link right here, and I have 2 choices. I can choose to view the Alameda Dashboard or view and record a Touchpoint. Really don't want to use this bottom option. It's just not very user-friendly. So I'm going to get an overview and click on this top link here that says Alameda's Dashboard. Excuse me. Everything you need to add for your report is on this page. Now what I've done here is I've kind of ordered them numerically, going from 1 all the way down through number 9. So anything you see on this dashboard excuse me, is what you'll be going ahead and entering in. I've also created a user guide which goes step by step through this process as well. And you can email me if you would like a copy of the user guide. It's also posted on our website. And I'll try and remember to take you there afterwards, but you can always get a copy of it. It's in a PDF format, and it goes step through step by exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I'm going to start at number 1 here, and number 1 is the county contacts. Now this is just informational purposes about who's going to be entering data into ETO. So if you look at this example, we see that we have Marcy. She entered in her contact information last year. If anything's changed, if there's a new person entering data, you want to go ahead and complete this touch point. It'll ask you questions like, are you the county's liaison? Are you the registered user? Yes or no. who is your consultant. There should be a drop-down list that you can fill this out from, and you just simply fill this in. If nothing's changed, if you're the same person that's been there, last year, just go ahead and leave it. Okay. Now, if you did have somebody new taking over the data entry portion, you would just simply click on the new button. It's going to open up what's called a Touchpoint. It's like a form, and you just fill out the various fields: your name, your title, agency, phone number, etc., your email address, the county and zip code that you work for. If you're the OCAP liaison, anything with a little asterisk here is required. It's not going to let you save until you answer a required question, or you can save one of these touch points as a draft and come back in later if you don't happen to know that information. So it will let you save as a draft, come back in without answering a required question. Okay, what funding sources are you the liaison for? If you're the user, and who's your consultant. We have a list of drop-down names here. If you don't know, you can just leave it blank or save it as a draft and come back and fill it in later. Okay. So then at the down at the bottom, it says save and record similar. If you have, maybe you have two people that are going to be working on this. Save and record similar will save your current record, and then it'll open up kind of a blank form, and you can kind of keep going until you're done. Okay, so once you're done, you'll just go ahead and hit the save button, and that's all you have to do for all of these touch points. When you're done entering all of these touch points for your annual report, there's no submit button. Once you save it, it's saved, and we can go in. Everything's dynamic, it's real time, so saving is as good as submitting, so no worries about that. Now, save as draft, like I said, will give you sort of a visual identifier that says, oh, this is a draft, and I'll come back in and put in any data that I may not know. Now, in this case, I'm just going to hit cancel because I don't want to mess up Alameda's contact information. And once I do that, it's going to take me back to the dashboard. So I recommend taking all these touch points in the order, 1 through 9 as I've ordered them and as the reference guide shows you. I just find that it's easier that way. You get all the easy stuff kind of out of the way, and we're good to go. Now, the next touch point here, number 2, is terms and conditions. You have to agree to the terms and conditions every year, and you can see in Alameda's example here, we see that Marcy has agreed to the terms and conditions for 2015, 2016. So for 2017, she'll have to do that again, even if it's the same person. Nothing has changed on the terms and condition. It just means that the information you are providing for this year is adhering to, the restrictions or for each individual fund that you'll be using funds for. So terms and conditions are the same, but you do need to agree to them each year. Okay. All right. And then again, if you need to do that, you click on New, and then you just read through the terms and conditions. You can print it out if you want to. You just click the I agree button, and you're good to go, and you're done with this touch point. Number 3 here is the county need touch point, and what this is every county should have some needs that they've identified that they want to provide services for. And you can see in this example, homelessness, fatherhood, sexually exploited children, behavior, mental health, etc. So there could be a lot, and that's okay. If you have a new identified need, let's say for some reason you have, I don't know, some other, let's see what we have, I don't know, maybe a home visiting need, something like that, you would go ahead and add it in here. If your needs have stayed the same, that's fine. You don't need to add something, because when you add a county need in this area, it sort of populates a list in another area that you'll select from, so no need to enter any duplicate data. Okay, so if you have a new need, you would go ahead and click on New. Otherwise, you'll see this list of previously listed needs kind of create a drop-down menu in another touch point. Okay, So if no needs here, you can skip it. If you have a new one, just go ahead and record a new need, and then you'll access that area with the drop-down list in another Touchpoint. Okay. All right, going on to number 4, Child Abuse Prevention Council. So this one, again, you want to take this one each year. So it looks like in this case we have Alameda, and it's the Alameda County Child Abuse Prevention Council. So one other thing I wanted to mention is you'll notice these little icons. Before I actually go into this Touchpoint by clicking New, the little icon here, this little I means details. That means that you can view what was added a previous year. The plus is add similar Touchpoint, which is basically the same as clicking on this new icon. Now sometimes when you're looking at this window, you'll see that there might be a little pencil and a little trash can icon. Those only appear when you enter in the data yourself. So it protects me. Let's say I'm Karen and I'm looking at Alameda. Well, I cannot edit Marcy's Touchpoint and I cannot delete it. Only Marcy can do that. Now you'll watch what happens. I'm going to go in and take a new Touchpoint here. So let's say I'm new to Alameda County and I'm going to be adding in information this year. So I'll show you what I mean with these little icons after I create one. So I'm going to go ahead and enter information for the Child Abuse Prevention Council. So I'm going to click on New, and it's going to open up the form. So I'm going to select, now by default here, the date is always going to be the default date of today. So if you wanted to backdate it, that's absolutely okay. Populate with previous response. Now this is a really good feature where if you know you have pretty much the same information that you had last year, that's when you could utilize this option here. So if I said, wow, you know, I think my information's pretty much the same, I can click on this drop down arrow. And it's really not very intuitive, just to give you a heads up, and I'll go over how to create an identifier which makes it easier to figure out what this populate with previous response entails. So you can see, well, I know I added a cap C for 2015, and it looks like I added a cap C for last year. So I'm going to click on that. And I get a little pop-up that says, okay, well, this is going to replace any data entered on this Touchpoint, and that's okay because I haven't entered any yet, so I'm going to click OK. So now last year's data is populated with the exception of a few fields, and this is really helpful if nothing has really changed. So, okay, well, I'm looking at this. Well, of course, it's going to be the new 2016-17 year, so I will check that. Alameda County Child Abuse Prevention Council, that's fine. And then I just want to make sure that I verify that the information is still correct. Is Marcy still the executive director? Anything changed with addresses, etc.? That all looks good. Is the phone number correct? Maybe I want to add a website. So you just want to make sure that everything's the same. And then check out the primary functions. Sometimes maybe those will be different. You'll notice that I can uncheck and check multiple ones here. So you are able to make changes after you populate with a previous year. And then there's some other text boxes at the bottom. There's other public agency, additional comments. If you have any photos or articles that you'd like to share when we complete our annual report, we'd be more than happy for you to share anything you might be particularly proud of or how we can help spread the good news. You can do that here. And if you do have multiple CAPCs, let's say I have 2 or 3, you can choose Save and Record Similar. It'll save this form and then add another blank form, and you can keep going until you're finished. So I'm going to go ahead, in this case, I'm going to hit Save. Now I know I'm on Alameda's dashboard, but I get this message. It says, okay, this was submitted, and I'm good to go. Now, when it brings me back to the dashboard, you're going to notice that my name, here I am, Karen Fake, right here. I've entered another CAPC for this year. And here's the icons I was talking about. I have the little pencil and I have a trash can. So if I decided, oh, you know what, I'm going to delete that, or maybe I want to make an update or an edit, I could do that because I created it. So in this case, again, I don't want to mess up Alameda's dashboard. I'm going to hit the little trash can. It says I'm going to delete that. And you'll see that that touch point has been deleted. Okay, so you can only add, you can only update and delete touch points you have yourself created. However, you can still view other people's touch points. Okay, I'm moving on to number 5, and this is the Child Abuse Prevention Month touch point, and I can see here that Marcy had added one for 2015-16, and it shows no estimated individuals reached. Okay, so what I'm going to do is show you what this form looks like, or this touch point. So I'm going to click on new. So again, if I were to add a touch point for 16-17, I do have another option to populate with previous, so I'm going to click on that box. I only have one, and that was taken last year, so I'm going to go ahead, click OK. Now I can still make edits to this. If I decide, oh, that's not even close to what I had added, I can change everything on this form if I choose to. So it looks like last year for Alameda, this is what populated. Not a lot of information here. Now again, the state fiscal year is required, so I'm going to choose 16-17. And again, the reason why these are so important is because for reporting purposes, we have to match up the correct state fiscal year with the information being added. So that's why some of these are required. So let's say, I don't know, this year I have numbers for door-to-door outreach. I can put anything in here I want to. And again, just kind of putting some random data. There are 2 required questions under the outreach section, and that is publications, print materials, giveaways. They are required, but if you didn't have any of those, that's okay. You can still put 0, but they are required so that we know you saw those and you didn't have any for that particular state fiscal year. Now these of course are estimates, so you don't have to worry about, you know, getting exact numbers, just kind of an estimate of what you think. And then ETO will automatically calculate the number of individuals reached. So I've got 2,000, 5,000, and then it just kind of calculates, okay, for you by itself. And then there's some other options where you can describe a public awareness activity if you have any. We want to know if there were any activities in recognition of child abuse prevention, and last year it looked like they had a blue ribbon campaign, government proclamation, which is awesome. If there was any more, or if this year you didn't have that, you can uncheck those. And then we wanted to describe any activity carried out by your county in recognition of Child Abuse Prevention Month, or, you know, one activity kind of in more detail. And then if you've received any media attention, if yes, you can check that, and you'll notice that if you do that, we want to know upload or email any photos so that we can help spread the word. But again, if you don't have anything, that's completely fine to bypass that. It's not a required field. Okay, so this is what the touch point looks like here. This is the Child Abuse Prevention Month for Alameda. Now I'm going to hit cancel because I don't want to save that and skew the numbers for Alameda or our overall report, but you can get the idea for the Child Abuse Prevention Month. And this little area right here, by the way, this doesn't show every single question, but it kind of shows you a little snapshot of some basic data. But obviously there's more data when you complete the touch point, but here we just kind of show you an estimate, kind of the more important things that maybe you can see with a quick glance. If you wanted to see any of these touch points in more detail, we have a lot of reports that you can run to view the data in more detail. So again, the dashboard is just a snapshot. It's not everything that's been input. Okay, I'm going to go on to number 6 now, and this is the County Children's Trust Fund. So this touch point, you know that we have to fill out birth certificate fees specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and click on New. This one, the way we used to collect the birth certificate fees, we used to collect it on paper. Some counties recorded expenditures and got really detailed with their different categories. But really all we need to focus on is the birth certificate fees. So when I open up this touch point, you'll notice that, okay, well, it defaulted to 2015-16. Well, I know that's not correct, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have 2016-17 as the state fiscal year. And under category, you'll notice that we have all these other categories. Fundraising, kids plate, other. Some counties don't record that. That's fine. We really don't need anything other than birth certificate fees. Okay, we don't need a balance. We used to collect that, but we do need amounts received. So I'm going to put in, and I'm guessing, 35,000. If you know the other data, expenditures, and the balance in your CCTF, you can go ahead and include it. But really, we just need the birth certificate fees at this point to calculate what you'll be receiving in your CBCAP funds. Okay, so that's why we really need this. So just as another FYI, put this little note here at the top. It says failure to report this information on time will result in a delay of funds. So if we have one county or two counties without the birth certificate fees, we cannot process the allocation because we use this amount in the methodology. So just kind of keep that in mind, and that's why the birth certificate fees are really important to capture for each year. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead once again, and I'm going to hit cancel on that one. And if you have any questions at all while you're going through this, or you forget, you can always call me, schedule another maybe one-on-one webinar where I can walk you through this a little bit more slowly, or your county consultant can help you. So no worries if you're overwhelmed at this point and it seems a bit much. We'll help you walk through it, and I'm available anytime. So keep that in mind, and we'll get you through this process. All right, so now I'm going to go on to number 7 here, general information. And I'm going to click the new button here because we need to record this for each state fiscal year. So we have a couple of different tabs here at the top. We have general information, county collaboration, parent involvement, risk factors, differential response and funding, and if there's any CBCAP rollover. Okay, so your SIP cycle start date, you can just end in the beginning and the end date. I think they're usually like 5 years or whatever the case may be. So you just put that information in here. Now I can click on this next page button, or I could have simply just clicked on the county collaboration tab. Once again, you always want to select the correct fiscal year. Okay, so 2016-17, and then we just want to know who you collaborate with, and you can check all that apply. So we have a lot of different options here. There is a box for other, so if none of these categories are who you collaborate with, you can choose other, and then you can just simply type in who that is in the box. Okay, I'm going to uncheck that. Now, what we want to know on this next section here, it's a little bit funky the way the ETO kind of has a limitation how to collect this data. So let me just kind of explain what we're going for here. In the above section, let's say I choose 5 different options on who I collaborate with. So 5 or 6. Okay. Now in the bottom section, what we're trying to capture is the top 3 and how they impact child abuse and neglect. So let's say I've done behavior health, court, domestic violence. I just want to pick 3 of those. So I'll just do, I don't know, I'll do one example. So let's say I think my number 1, faith-based. Okay. And when I click on the next box here for my second highest collaboration partner, you'll notice that I have the top number 1 description here. So what I'm looking for here is for the faith-based collaboration partner, how that impacted child abuse and neglect. Okay? And then of course if I did my number 2 one and I entered in some data there, you would notice another box that was requiring a description down here. And again, this is just kind of important for us to capture this data so that we can assess what's working, what isn't, and you know, really make sense out of who we collaborate with, how it's helping, and what do you think that the top 3 county collaboration partners are. Okay. All right, so when I've done that, I can go to the Parent Involvement tab, and we just have a couple questions here, how you involve parents and caregivers, and also if you have any challenges or barriers. And again, we collect this data so that we can network with other counties, see what's working, and see what isn't. The next tab is Risk Factors. We want to know what the most frequent risk factor is that's driving children into the CWS system. So you can see there's a drop-down box here, and if none of these fit, you can always choose Other. What is the most frequent type of child abuse in your county? And again, we have those options, or you can choose Other. And then we'd like to know an example of work towards system change happening in your county. Okay. I'm going to go to the next page, differential response and funding. So we want to know whether or not supported with OCAP funds. Do you have a 3-path differential response? And we only want you to answer yes if your county uses all 3 paths. Next, whether or not supported with OCAP, does your county utilize an alternative response model? And then lastly, does your county anticipate any changes to CAPIT, CBCAP, or PSSF in the current fiscal year? Okay. Then the last tab on this page is CBCAP rollover. We just want to know if you have any rollover funds into next year. Maybe you couldn't spend them all. Maybe you started your services at a different time and it didn't mesh up, so we want to know that. And if you have any additional comments as to why. Okay. Now I've answered all the questions on this page, so typically what I would do in this situation is I would hit Save. But of course, because I'm on Alameda, I'm going to hit Cancel. Now once I hit Save, I'm good to go. I'm done with this touch point. I don't have to look at it again unless I want to do some double checking. So every time you click Save for a particular touch point, you're good to go, real time. It works really, really well, so you don't have to wait and submit everything all at the same time. You can sort of, you know, work as you go. Okay. Now, this section here, county allocations, this is just an FYI. I apologize that it looks a little bit funky right now. I cannot get it to sort by fiscal year. So my idea here with this particular touch point is just to kind of give you a reminder of how much funding you've received at a glance for a particular year. So here, don't worry about the recorded by. I do a batch upload and upload everybody's allocation, every county at the same time. But here in Alameda's case, you can see for 2016-17, they received this amount in CBCAP, this amount in CAPIT, etc. And again, it's not sorting, it's a limitation of ETO, but if you did want to do sort of a comparison over the years or whatever the case may be, there is a report that you can run, you know, and just kind of see what's been going on over the past couple years. Okay, so this is just an FYI. We're going to go down to number 9, and this is almost the last touch point. This is the big one. There is one more, and it's the evidence-based, evidence practice touch point, but it's kind of hidden in this area. So I'll show you after I go through the service activity and funding stream touch point, because this is the longest one, and you know, it does take a little bit of time, but again, if you populate the data with something from last year, it's a lot easier to enter the data. So what I'm going to do here, and I'm still working with Alameda, you can see sort of a snapshot of what they've done, what the fiscal year is, and it looks like for youth program, if I'm just sort of monitoring this dashboard, they didn't choose a funding stream, so that might mean, hey, we might need to go and fix that, or maybe there was an error, or you know, something about something odd may be going on. So that's just kind of a little checkpoint here. Same with early childhood services. I mean, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm just saying those are things you should kind of look for. And I'm sure their consultant is aware of that. So regardless, I'm going to go ahead and open up a new touch point here. Let's say it's now 2016-17, and you can see here I've got these service categories: youth programs, parent education, early childhood, etc., and the dates that they were completed. So it's a new year, and I'm going to go ahead and enter a new touch point. Now with this service activity and funding stream, if you're providing 10 services, you need to complete this 10 times. So one for each service. Okay? All right. You'll notice in red here, this says the 2015-16 annual report is going to be due September 30th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Okay, so I think we're doing 16-17 actually. So I'll have to update that. Now here, because I entered new as creating a new touch point, everything is blank right here, and you'll see these little, you know, tabs at the top. But maybe I want to populate this touch point with previously entered. So again, I can go up to the top here, hit select, and here's the thing. It only says the name of the touch point and the date taken, and I really can't tell what those are. It looks like I've taken 3 touch points on the 7th, or 4 or 5. But until I click on one, I'm not going to know what that particular service activity is. Okay, now I can see here once I select it, it says, oh, well, this is behavior health, mental health. Well, if that's not the right one, I'd have to go back here, sort of guess, maybe it's that one. When I do that, it's going to populate with now parent education. So here's what I recommend. If you want to have these populate with previous responses, have a little bit more detail, what you can do is in this identifier, you can add something to sort of give you a clue about, you know, what the service is, so that when you check this drop-down box, it'll be a little more intuitive. So let's say, well, wow, this is parent education, but it's for the fiscal year 16-17. So I'm going to type that in, and you can do whatever you want as far as the identifier. So parent ed, and I'll just put 2016-17. Okay, so I've got this identifier. Now watch what happens. I'm not going to go through all this. I'll actually come back into this touch point and show you how this will look a little bit different once I've added this identifier. So I'm going to go ahead excuse me, and just choose Save as Draft. The reason I'm saving it as a draft at this point is because there are some required questions in this touch point, and if I try to do a save without filling in those requirements, it wouldn't let me. So that's why I did a Save as Draft. So now here you can see there's a visual thing here, draft, which means that's a clue. I can go back in and continue filling it out. It shows the identifier that I created, Parent Ed 2016-17. So now if this were next year or a future year and I had to create a new touch point, I'm going to click on New. If I choose this Populate with Previous Response and click the drop-down arrow, now you can see that my identifier, Parent Ed 2016-17, now I know that's the parent education touch point, and anything I added previously will now auto-populate. Okay? So that's where identifiers can be really, really handy. So now I'll just go ahead and continue on and show you what else is involved with the service activity and funding stream touchpoint. So we've got the state fiscal year, I've got my service category, and again, there's a list of others. I can change anything at any time if I wanted to. If I have a program name, I can put it in here. In this case, it was multiple. We want to know if it's an evidence-based or evidence-informed practice. The name of the evidence-informed practice, okay, in this case, Triple P, Nurturing Parent, etc. How many curriculums? We just need the number and a program activity description. We want to know if the service was provided by one or multiple. If it's multiple, just how many. If it's one, it would change this yellow box and you would just type in the name of the provider. Now I can go to the next page or click on the tabs here at the top, same thing. And it looks like last year, because I pre-populated this, I used Capit PSSF funds here, and that's why they're already checked. But typically you don't spend the exact amount, so that's why these boxes are empty. But let's say Capit, and I'm guessing, I'm just going to type in a couple random. But let's say this year I also used CBCAP funds. Now you'll notice the top tabs here, ends with target population. Once I choose CBCAP, pops only a tab here that at the end of this touch point there's additional questions that's required that we have to answer because we're using CBCAP funds. So I'm just going ahead and type in an amount for CBCAP. It'll automatically total the number of PSSF dollars and the OCAP funding, so that's just kind of an FYI. And then we want to know about other funding, so if you do have it, you just want to choose whatever other funding, if any, that you're using. If you have a financial sustainability plan, yes or no, or maybe. Please explain if you want to. Would the county continue to invest without OCAP? And I'll say no. And now I go to the next page. Okay. Now I'm on the service count page, and this is basically we want to know for this service what languages. So we just check the boxes. And then we want to know what this service who this service applies to, either individuals or families. So you don't want to choose both. Now, if this service is provided by both, you would want to fill in two different touch points, one for individuals and one for families with the same service. I'm going to click individuals here, and then we want to break it down by children without disabilities. So I'm just going to put in random numbers here. We want to know children with disabilities, broken down by ethnicity. Parents or caregivers without, just fill in. Parents or caregivers with disabilities. And then at the end of the counts, it gives you totals, total service counts, and each section gives you an overall total. And this information helps us figure out, who's accessing the services, how many families were served, how many individuals were served, etc. Now, if you have an increase or decrease in the services, we would want to know why you think that is, and you would type that information in here. Okay. Now, if you had families, I'm going to go ahead and check that. You'll notice that it's a little bit shorter. We just want to know by ethnicity the number of families served. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the next tab, which is Activity Outcome. Service addressed which county identified needs. So I think it was like the second or third touch point you identified needs. That's where this list pops in. So anything that you've identified should be already in this list. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose substance abuse. We want to know the primary outcome. What do you think? How many of families? And it is required if you did not serve families, you would put a 0. Now, based on the previous question, if you entered you served individuals, it would say how many individuals served this outcome. So hopefully, if you have 5 families, hopefully you would have 5 that achieved the outcome or close to it. How was this outcome measured? And then we have some drop down, which you can choose, or other. And did you have any unexpected challenges or benefits? You can choose yes or no. Again, if you want to share any photos, flyers, you can hit select and upload your information here. If you want to share a success story, and then any additional comments. Okay, I'm going to go to the next page. This is the target population for this particular service. So again, you can click on this little drop-down box. We want to know the child welfare category. And then we also want to know the target population. Okay, so then you could make your choice. Now, because we chose CBCAP funds, this tab popped up here. So we have one other tab that we need to complete on the service activity and funding stream. So we want to know if it's evidence-based or evidence-informed. I'm going to click that box. How many individuals were served? Okay, I'll just put some random number. Name the program, okay, or approach. We want to include, or I'm sorry, indicate the special populations. So I'm going to make a couple choices here. And provide one example of outreach to maximize the participation of parents, etc. Example of outreach to promote culturally competent and relevant programs. We want to know what opportunities were provided to engage parents. Any incentives. A brief description of one parent leadership opportunity. And these are optional down at the bottom. And then down at the bottom here, if you want to schedule a follow-up or send yourself a little note on your dashboard as a reminder, maybe you're going through and you need to collect some information from one of your providers, that's what this little button does. You can follow up an alert, or you can follow up another alert on somebody else's list if that is if you have another user. So these are just you know, to kind of help you remember what you need to do. Now, before I click save, you'll notice in red, and it says down here, since you have selected CBCAP funds for this service, you have to fill out what's called the evidence-based, evidence-informed check sheet. It's located under the Service Activity and Funding Stream Touchpoint on your dashboard. Okay, I'll show you where that is. A lot of people forget, but it is in the user guide. So I'm going to go ahead once again and choose Save as Draft. And don't worry, Alameda, I will be deleting these after I enter the data so we don't mess anything up. And now that I'm back on my county dashboard, you can see here are the 2 drafts that I've added for this year under my name, Karen Fake here. And you'll notice that this peer support that I've entered in, see how it says CBCAP funds here, okay? Now, because CBCAP funds were used, the feds require that we do sort of a self-assessment. Now, where I can access that form is on this same line, but if I point to this link, it says Service Activity and Funding Stream Dashboard. Okay, so I'm pointing to this link, and this is going to take me to the section where I enter the evidence-based check sheet. And this is the last thing I need to do for this service. Now, if I had another service, I'd have to do this Touchpoint again. Just this one. The other ones are good. So what I see here when I'm accessing this area is I have a summary of this particular service. So you can see for 2016-17, this is my peer support. I have multiple program names, and I have all the data that I've entered on the Touchpoint. Over on the right-hand side, this is where you'll see the evidence-based check sheet. It's a sub-Touchpoint. I'm going to click on New. So here is where we have to kind of rate this particular program or service. So once again, I want to make sure that I'm selecting the right fiscal year. We want to know if there's a logic model, if there are parent involvement activities, or the status of evaluation, implementation, or planning. Is it, you know, what's the status of the activity? And then the check sheet. These are just the instructions. They seem kind of long, but really all you do is you answer yes or no to the series of questions. And it will automatically calculate the service level. So the service level goes from 0 to 4, 1, meaning it's emerging. Maybe you're just starting with this new service, and well supported means, okay, this is really going well. So what you do, question number 1, you read the question, and then it's just a simple yes or no. So I'm answering yes. I go to the next question, I read it, I select yes or no. Okay, I go to the third question. I'm just doing a bunch of yeses. Now, once I get to, I think it's the 6th yes, you can see that the service level now is level 1 emerging. If that's it, if my next question is a no, then I'm good and another question does not pop up. I'm good. This particular service is at a level 1. Now, if I keep going answering yes, it will automatically rate your service level, like I mentioned, either a 1 through a 4 of well supported. Okay, I think there's a total of 17 questions. If you answer all 17 with a yes, that program is going to be a level 4 well supported program. Okay, so I'm going to choose Save here. To save this Touchpoint, it says it was submitted. And it brings me back to the same screen I was in. And let's say, well, now I can see here's my level 1. That's how this service was rated. So peer support, it's emerging. Now, how do I get back to my county dashboard? Well, you'll notice up here in the top left, it says return to Alameda's dashboard. And I can click on that, and it's going to return me to the dashboard. And if I scroll down here at the bottom, you can now see that I've completed for fiscal year 2016-17 2 Touchpoints, one for parent education that does not use CBCAP funds, so I did not have to take that extra sub Touchpoint, and one for CBCAP. Okay? And that's it. That's all you need to do for the annual report. No submit. You just save as you go through, and you're good to go. And you can always contact your county consultant and go through these as well. And before I get too far off, I'm going to go ahead and delete those now, just so I don't mess up Alameda's information. Okay, scroll down, hit the delete on that one again. And once you've completed all of those touch points, 1 through 9, and then possibly the 10, that's it. you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude this webinar so it's not too lengthy, but I'd like you to go ahead and email me if you'd like a copy of the user guide. You can go to our website if you like, and my email address is karen.skeoch@dss.ca.gov. And if there's anything else I can help you with, creating reports or going into more detail, please let me know. And other than that, happy reporting.